You know, some of the things that have really stuck with me are sort of some of the images that you see driving the streets of downtown Kampala, things that you might only see for a second and that take a long time to process. And you know, one of the images that has really been kind of burned into my brain is of a 5-year-old child asking for change in the street and turning around and seeing that this 5-year-old child had a newborn infant strapped to its back. It's hard to convey in sort of flowing prose just how dire the situation is here. And I think, you know, for our Western minds, sometimes it's just one single shocking image that really drives home the reality of the situation.
I think the day that we got the beds for the kids in the youth shelter, it was our second day here and our first day actually out volunteering. We'd done a half day in the baby's home and then you know, had been to see these boys and where they're living, and just the amount of effort that it took and how all of us came together to get those beds, and then to see the expression on their faces when we pulled up with all those beds and to see these kids whose stories we heard that were horrible, you know, kids that didn't really show any emotion when they're talking about the lives that they've lived, to break down and cry when they saw these beds. That's my most memorable moment.
Well, I think, you know, when you're back home and you're surrounded by people who are all immersed in the same sort of environment as I am, and in the Western world, that's just about, you know, what do I have? How can I get more? How can I get something bigger, better, stronger? And the whole, it feels a lot when you're at home that you're, in terms of your acquaintances and those who maybe don't know you that well, they really have no other way to kind of gauge who you are, except, you know, judging based on what you appear to have. And so I think at home, you know, what you have is stupidly important. And, you know, if I hadn't come here, I don't think I really would have truly gained that perspective.
I take away, I think, a broken heart. You know, I've fallen in love with this country, and at the same time, I feel heartbroken that I'm not able to help every single person here. There's so many people that need something, and even the littlest thing could assist them. So I think what I take away from this is that you know, I want to continue that in my life.
I think for me, like, I came to Uganda expecting to see a lot of poverty and destitution, and like, yeah, when we got here, there's a lot of poverty, just poverty enveloping whole communities, and that really shocked me. But what was really surprising was, like, the people are not destitute. In contrast, they're full of happiness and a joy that I've never really seen in North America. So that was just really shocking for me. And like, I think like when I get home, little things aren't going to make me mad, because I've seen here people with so little are so rich in happiness, and I think that that's just been a huge thing for me.
I'd probably have to say going to the babies' orphanage and meeting this little girl, Frida, who was only discovered about a month ago. She was brought to the orphanage. She's a year and a couple of days, and she's HIV positive. I think remembering her, she sort of encompasses so much of what goes on in Uganda. So just it puts it into perspective that this is one individual, but it's happening everywhere.
But it's definitely made a big impact on my life, and I've been thinking about little changes that I can make in my life, because there's definitely there's things that this country, there's energy and water shortages that this country has always faced, that our country is just starting to face, and other developed countries like Australia is facing water shortage. And so there's things like that, immediate changes that I can make as soon as I get off the plane.
Being involved with the organizations that we have, the computer lab, Milton and his kids, and the baby center has been sort of a profound experience, certainly eye-opening. It's led me to think a lot about priorities and motivations.
When I first got here, I felt a little overwhelmed, I think. I felt like there's just so much need, and where do you start? And I'm kind of like a really big thinker, and I want to solve everything. And I think for me, I really realized that the small things really do matter. And if it's, you just sitting there and tapping a baby to sleep that's never usually got someone to tap them because there's 43 babies in an orphanage, or it's teaching someone a shortcut and their eyes light up because they found something fun on the computer that does something different. And it's those little things, little wins that make it feel like you are making a difference.
When we stopped yesterday in Tororo, we met a huge group of kids, varying ages of probably 2 up to 16, 17. And when each of us got off the bus, they were so excited. And we were taking pictures of them, and the flashes were going off, and they just screamed and just were excited. So just that they don't get a lot of visitors there, and just the fact that our presence meant that much to them, and they prepared songs for us, so I just really connected with them.
One thing that I was really caught off guard by, in particular with the computer classes, is just how eager they were to acquire these skills. And in particular, a gentleman named Patrick that I was working with really viewed this as an opportunity to get an education that he can't afford. He can't afford to go to college and get a technical education. He viewed this as a way to a career, a path to a career. So he came into these days we were able to spend with him with incredibly high expectations. And I think a misconception that I had going in was that we were going to be teaching people some real basics, like this is how you type on a keyboard, or this is what a mouse is. And much to our surprise, we found that these were people who were hungry for the finer points of using an access database and how to replace the power supply in a computer. So I was just blown away by the ambition and the drive of these people to find a sustainable way to a better life.